We are on our way to the small town of Innisville, about 90 minutes north of the clinic, and we should be arriving there shortly. So we're in the middle of a bit of a wildlife rescue emergency. I received a message from a friend of mine. A colleague of his has found an injured young or baby raccoon in her backyard. It seems the raccoon had a bit of a fight with a porcupine and has quills in its nose and its cheek, likely in its tongue. They were able to trap the raccoon and get it into a dog crate, and they made some calls to local clinics and wildlife rescue centers. So they gave me a shout, and I decided let's load up the car with supplies, and we're gonna go see how we can help this little guy out. Worst case scenario, if it's pretty severe, we'll load him up into the car, bring him back to the clinic, and hopefully be able to get him back to health. So the big concern that the wildlife expert had was whether or not this raccoon has distemper, which is a virus that is infectious towards dogs as well. And distemper certainly can cause unusual behaviors, can cause ocular discharge or eye discharge, which this raccoon does not seem to have. And it can cause breathing issues, almost like pneumonia. So I think it's worth a shot to at least give this guy a chance, and we'll bring it back to the clinic, sedate him a bit, properly examine him. We'll make sure we're all gloved up and protected and that all the other animals are protected. But it's a small chance, but let's give this guy a little bit of hope and see if we can at least get him feeling better. And if it does turn out to be distemper, well then we'll unfortunately have to humanely say goodbye to him, but at least it can be done without there being any pain involved. But let's at least give him a shot and see if luck is on our side this time.
Do you want to do it on the floor?
Well, either way, I kind of need, if we do it against the wall, and you push that way, so I turn this,
Yeah.
you push it that way, and then drive them towards this corner, not this corner. Good.
Oh.
Leave it in. Right?
Yep.
I think I got it in. I jabbed as hard as I could.
Ta-da!
Yeah, that actually worked out alright.
We stuck it down here.
It's not in his tongue. That's good.
How long do you think it's, like, the quills have been in?
Well, just a day.
Okay.
Yeah, they're coming out too easily to be chronic. Alright. I think we're good. So we'll put him back in there and then decide what we're going to do. But we're going to let him wake up on his own. There we go.
This sucker?
So we've had a fun few days with this guy. We were able to get him here and sedate him and take all the quills out of his mouth and out of his nose. Gave him various medications and then had him stay in this this big cage for a few days. But the adventure's not over. He's now going to be heading down to downtown Toronto to the Toronto Wildlife Centre. They're going to give him lots of tender loving care and rehab him up, and in a few weeks he'll be released back into the wild, back near his hometown. So we dropped the raccoon off at the Toronto Wildlife Center. Unfortunately, after a few days, he started to show some erratic behavior, some symptoms that indicated a possible neurological disease. They were primarily concerned with distemper or much more seriously, rabies. So they made the correct decision to euthanize the little guy humanely, and they sent his body off to the Ministry of Health for testing. It did come back positive for distemper, so while that's not a risk for us as people, it is a serious risk for the raccoon population. So what we have to kind of understand here is that humans are sort of to blame for these situations. We have this massively growing population, our carbon footprint's increasing, and the effect that we're having on the environment and on the animal population is sort of increasing daily. We are forcing animals to not only live closer to us, but because we're taking over their habitat, they're being forced to live closer to each other. This is causing these diseases like distemper, like rabies, other parasites to be more easily transmitted within the population, within the wildlife population. We're going to see more and more of these cases until us humans, the so-called intelligent species, starts to recognize the effect that we're having on these animals and making some changes to sort of be more of a positive effect. We have to remember that we weren't here first. We're not borrowing or lending, we're not sharing our world with them. They're being forced to share their world with us. So it's about time we show our appreciation and we start to work harder to get along with them and to find ways that we can help them instead of hinder their lives, basically.